Good day, everybody. Today we are here with Theo PtitDrogo. Your name is so crazy, man. Um, could you say it for me and our listeners and viewers? How do you say it properly in French?
I need to do the introduction in French to get in the mood. Bonjour, je m'appelle PtitDrogo et je suis un Protoss player pour My Infinity.
Thank
PtitDrogo.
you. Thank you
That's
very
it.
much. So perfect. Way better than I could do it. I'm really happy that you agreed on this interview, and I think the most people listening in will know what you do. So that you are playing Starcraft and that you are from France. But
Yep.
I wanted to ask you: are you currently living in France?
Right now, yes.
Okay, so not at the team house of My Insanity.
No, I live in the My Infinity house for about a year, I'd say. Well, actually, maybe more than a year. Like it was kind of on and off, then just strictly to the gaming house. Just yeah, for a pretty long time overall. Then I lived in Poitiers with DNS and Lilbo. Then some back and forth in Korea, and now I'm here in Lyon with some friends.
In Lyon.
Yeah, Lyon.
Okay, ouais. So, I, what, how is it like? You're living with StarCraft people, or are you living with just friends and other people? Or
Well, that's funny because yeah, I used to only strictly live in like gaming houses, and even if I wasn't in one, it was like StarCraft people. So this is the first time that I live with people not StarCraft related, which is like they're gamers too, so it's fine. But it's a bit weird, yeah, to just look at their screen and they're not playing StarCraft. It's like, huh, wow, it can actually happen. It's pretty interesting.
okay. So, could you tell us a bit more, if you like? It's up to you. How did you end up living in this situation now? So, what was your decision making about that?
You mean like for the gaming house, like living in the gaming house?
No, living currently where you are living. How did you end up
Oh,
there?
actually, it's fairly straightforward. Lilbo was switching to Overwatch, and it made living together a bit weird because before we all had StarCraft in common and we were all friends. But when you play Overwatch, like you play with a team, so you have to speak constantly and being like playing with them. So it was kind of weird, and just like we agreed that yeah, if you switch to Overwatch, it doesn't really make sense for us to stay together anymore. So we just like parted ways, like very very calmly, like no drama or anything. So I was like, okay, I'm not living with my StarCraft friends anymore. So good for me. I have other friends, so I'm gonna live with them.
Okay, that's good. And that also leads me to my next question. I was wondering, you are 21 now,
Yep.
so you finished school, you went a pro in StarCraft. Are you currently also studying or doing anything on the side?
Nope, nothing. I'm not studying, and it will be very hard to go back to studying. I'm just playing StarCraft full time right now.
Okay. And it's basically your plan for the next couple of years.
I'm not sure, like the future as a StarCraft player is always uncertain. Like your level can always drop at any time, and it's sometimes really hard to get it back up to a competitive level. And like we know that there's going to be WCS for next year, but for the year after that, I don't know. But I'm not too pessimistic about it. Like the world of esports is very vast, and I'm confident in myself that if I want to keep working in that environment, I should be able to do something one way or the other.
So is that also why you are taking English classes, according to your Twitter?
Yeah, well, yeah, like I want to be able to speak very clearly. Like right now, I'm tryharding a little bit to sound to make myself being understood, but I just need to like take my mind off it a little bit, and then my accents just come back in. And I don't know, I don't want to be a guy like, oh, he speaks very good for French. I want to be someone that speaks so good that you can't immediately tell them French. It's probably going to be impossible to do, but the closer I get to this goal, the happier I would be.
So are you taking classes every week now, or?
No, like it's just like a teacher that I meet from time to time, like when I feel like it. It's not like something to try hard.
But just to help yourself develop more and get better at it. Okay, cool. Because as I saw on Twitter that you had to learn a rap song.
Yeah, in the end, I didn't choose a rap song. It's too difficult. I cannot rap for anything, so it's gonna be something very slow and steady. Still good though.
Cool. So, but did you learn English in school, or did you pick it up along the
No.
way? Or
No, I was very bad at English in school. Like actually extremely bad. I learned English with. To be perfectly exact, it's at first it was for the Yu-Gi-Oh parody from Little Kuribo. If some guys know about it, I watched like a lot of episodes of it, and I found it so funny that I had to learn English a little bit to understand all the jokes. Then afterwards, it was by watching Day 9 dailies that I pretty much like became bilingual. And yeah, then again, just like playing Starcraft in general, you have to learn English eventually if you want to be like do anything.
especially as a pro player, obviously.
Yeah.
It makes life much easier. Now at Home Story Cup, you were casting together with Joff also in control, and I as a viewer, I could experience that firsthand. Like you could talk, you could express yourself, but your Korean fellows, the Korean colleagues, they like Zest, I think, doesn't speak at all. And he was really struggling to communicate. Yeah, that was
bad. It's always very sad too, because like it's so hard to speak English as a Korean. Really often, I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, but you know, like in the programming scene, we often have a joke that's Korean player, they're like fast finger, small brain, or something like this. And I feel like in general, because they're not able to express themselves like as good as they want to, there's always this underlying feeling that Koreans are just not that smart, whereas it's just, you know, they're just not able to express themselves. Like, this guy a fucking genius, and I wish I could like communicate with them. Sometimes I ask question to Deer on the stats, and I wish I could speak Korean like fluently, just so we could like share everything they know, because it's still like at a very basic level, even if you can communicate.
Yeah, and especially with Zest, you mentioned once in a small interview that he is definitely one of the Protoss players that you try to follow, or that you still admire for his playstyle. Is it still like that, or are you at this point?
I mean, like, what I like about Zest's playstyle is that it's very dumb. That's kind of weird, but like he follows a build order perfectly, and that's it. Like he relies a lot on his execution of build orders, and this is kind of close to my playstyle. But this can be a double-edged sword, you know. Like if it works, it feels amazing. You have this build order, you execute perfectly, and you win games. Or if it doesn't work, when you're like, yeah, I did the build order and I still lost. Like this is stupid. So like, while at the same time I like Zest because it's kind of closer of what I do. But I still like really like player like Stats, where I feel like Stats, you know, when he plays well, he's just like, man, this guy is so good. He should win every game. Even if the guy counters build order, he's just that good that he's gonna win every game. So yeah, I still like Zest because I can actually copy him. Whereas sometimes I watch Stats and I'm like, yeah, I can do that.
So that's interesting for me. I mean, you are mentioning Protoss players now. Obviously, you play Protoss. Is there any other Terran or Zerg that you also acknowledge that they are good players?
Yeah. Like in ZVP, for example, there's some player that you feel like, okay, what he does is very strong, but it's counterable. And I'm not gonna name names, you know, to say, oh, this guy is bad at ZVP. But when you play a player like Cyril, for example, and you just feel like they don't only rely on like a timing, because you can play ZVP very timing oriented if you want to, just defend every aggression, stick to a drone count, Hydra Bane, and you go. With Cyril, I feel like even if he lost to Showtime, you know, but Showtime is like also insanely good. But with Cyril, he's a really resourceful player. Even if he's behind, he's always gonna try to pull off everything he can, like microing, multitask, like a bunch of stuff to be able to come back into the game. And when you're even with him and you're not ahead, then this is like, you need to not. If you fuck up once, you lose the game. That's just it. And it's very intimidating to play against a player like that. So in general, these kind of players, you know, that just really resourceful. And you feel like if one thing goes wrong, you lose against them. In general, no matter the race, I have a lot of respect for these kind of players.
Okay, cool, yeah. So now we are already touching on StarCraft, obviously. So first I would like to ask you about the patch that they now that they mentioned now that they want to make a big of changes, the big patch that is coming up, so obviously to all races. How do you feel at this point in time about what you read about the patch and the ideas? Yeah,
I played it a little bit, and I'm only gonna speak like from a Protoss perspective, because it's already hard enough to be able to predict the future. But right now, like I wrote a small post on Team Liquid actually. Like it just got lost into the sea of posts about balance, so nobody really paid attention to it. But pretty much, I do believe that right now they took away the Mothership Core without giving Protoss any other option to be able to compensate. Like the Mothership Core is so insanely powerful. Like you have to realize the Mothership Core is a really broken unit. Like it's insanely powerful, but the game is balanced with the Mothership Core in it. That's what people need to realize. And really often you're like, I was speaking with Major, that was funny. He's like, yeah, but whatever, man. Like we thought, like Protoss never make a Mothership Core. They always delay it until they have like 66 probes. So even if you take it away, it's gonna be okay. And it's like true, you know. But the reason we don't get all in is because we can make a Mothership Core. If we take the Mothership Core away, like all of the one base all in, like the proxy cyclone, a lot of stuff is gonna be able to kill Protoss. And in what I feel like will kill diversity, the only thing that's going to be able to keep us alive is the Oracle, which is like the second most broken unit Protoss has, and that has been completely untouched in this patch, which is really surprising, because even though, like, you know, I'm Protoss, I'm not going to try to nerf my own shit, but the Oracle is just this insanely powerful tool that we're just going to, like, it's already pretty much a must, but not before. Like before it was a pretty big must, but sometimes you could do other stuff. Now after this patch, you're gonna need an Oracle to defend everything. And like just to be straight to the point, in PvZ, for example, if you don't make an Oracle, you cannot hold a Baneling bust. Like it's actually mathematically impossible. I mean, even for people saying, yeah, you can wall, okay, with the mechanic of the drop overload early game, if you don't have an Oracle, you will lose to a Zergal in 100% of the time. It's actually like mathematically impossible. So straight up, so just looking at this, I feel like Blizzard needs to add something else. I'm not opposed to taking the Mothership Core away, by the way. I think it's great. Like, yeah, an error unit in Starcraft is a bit silly, but we just need to find something very smart to compensate for it. If we don't want to put like another one-click defense kind of stuff.
Okay, so you gave me a lot of information now in a very short amount of time.
That's called Gishgalov.
Yeah. And it's but I'm trying to follow your logic. So what you said is that it is a broken unit in a way, but you feel that at this point in time they didn't change Protoss in a way that it will compensate for the loss of the mothership, and especially. Like you said, the all-ins will be much more stronger against Protoss. For example, the Zerg.
And to develop on that a little bit too, I feel like one of the big problems of the Mothership Core is that first, like one of the problem is that it's a defensive tool early game that's maybe too easy. Like people are gonna start arguing about how easy it is or whatever, but it's also a defensive tool early game that scales incredibly well into the mid and late game. The fact that you can make a unit early on that defends like 6 Zerglings that can later also defend 100 supply of army is, I think, where the problem lies. Like, I think the design of having to play Spylon to defend stuff, I think it's wonderful. Like, you have to think about your SimCity so much because of it. I think it's really interesting, but it's way too powerful, you know, like, the fact that you guys can have an entire army and just wait for the overcharge is just too silly. So I feel like they need to make something for Protoss that's going to be able to defend really effectively the early game, but it's not scaling out well in the mid game, if you know what I mean. I feel like that's what they should be aiming at, but it's really hard. Like, I'm not a game designer, and I cannot think of anything on the top of my head that would like fix these conditions.
And obviously cannons doesn't help because they could wait too late, or anything static is difficult. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, luckily for us, they will test first. And then hopefully maybe they will find a way to adjust to that. What would you say in general? I mean, looking at StarCraft history, at the game itself, the last couple of interviews I did, a lot of the statements were quite positive. And I think you also said that in one interview last year that Legacy of the Void is definitely on the better end of StarCraft. Like if you look at Heart of the Swarm or even Wings of Liberty, it's not comparable. At this point in time, it's quite well. But how do you feel in general? Are you still happy with the state of the game at this point in time?
Yeah, like it's something I've been a bit vocal about, but not too vocal because a lot of people feel very strongly about this. But I feel like you have to be incredibly blinded by nostalgia if you think that Wing of Liberty or Heart of the Swarm were better games than Legacy of the Void, like design-wise. It just there's a lot of stuff, like sometimes people are gonna say that the 12 Walker starts killed Starcraft or the mineral distribution killed Starcraft, and these guys are just. Sometimes some of these people are really hardcore StarCraft fan, that follow since the beginning. But I feel like, it's just insane selective memory. You just think of stuff that happened in Heart of the Swarm that can't happen in Legacy of the Void anymore. You're like, we missed this great stuff. This great game couldn't have happened in Legacy of the Void. Checkmate. And no, that is really not for that work. Like right now, I'm really happy with the game. Obviously, it's not perfect. There's some change that we try to make with the mineral again, so that you can stick on freebase a bit longer. But I still feel like it's a much better improvement from Heart of the Swarm and Wing of Liberty. I could go on and on and on about all the differences, but I just this is what I feel like. Legacy of the Void is great.
What do you feel is the best part about Legacy of the Void? At this point.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go back again into a specific, but the 12 Walker start is such a huge improvement that people don't realize. Like, oh my god. This is just so great. It's actually so great. It's just so great. It's like one of the big things in Heart of the Swarm. I'm just gonna use this talking point, then you can go on something else. But in Heart of the Swarm, you could actually be as a Protoss player, you could build what we could call a build order toss. You would go in, do your build order, move across the map with the army you made, and win the game. People want championship like this. They actually want tournaments. Just doing the build order. And, it's kind of how I play right now. So I'm kind of hating on myself a little bit. But with Legacy of the Void, I had to learn a lot of actual strategy game stuff and not just making a build order, which is how I got my success in Heart of the Swarm a little bit. I'm mainly thinking of PvZ, but PvT was like this too. You would just do your blink all in, then you would win the game. It was just very silly, and with the 12 Walker starts, build order effectiveness is a lot reduced. You can't just do a build order and win the game. With the addition of the Ravager too, of a lot of defensive tool, you can't do that anymore, and it's great.
It's for me that's very interesting just to have your opinion on that. I mean, you are obviously me as a fan and obviously not a pro player. It's always good to hear insight like that, even if it's very technical and at first. But I think that's stuff that we don't think so much about as fans. Or we watch the game. We see somebody, let's say, lose against Protoss all the time, and then we wonder what's happening. Why is this happening?
Yeah, and one of the big things too is that I think a lot of people don't realize that the hype you get from a game and the enjoyment you get out of it does not correlate with the actual quality of the game going on. This is one of my recently in FY, for example, the international, the Dota tournament, Liquid won 3-0 in the final, and I can guarantee you, if this was Chinese is Chinese, and one of the Chinese team won 3-0 versus our Chinese team, nobody would have given a fuck. And one of my favorite example actually about this is that one of the series of one of my good friends, Lilbo, when he won against Hydra, it was at the back of that entire series. He did 2 base all-ins, and 2 base all-ins, and 2 base all-in. But it was an incredible comeback with some really, to be honest, there were some pretty good micros in those games. I'm not going to deny how incredible it was. But there was just the problem. There were 2 base all-in. And if it was people whine that, Korea are coming over to Europe, they're doing their all-ins, they win the tournament, then they come back home. This is fucking boring. That was the crux of all the criticism back then. But when one of our guys does it, it's exciting. Oh my god, this is just incredible. And in general, I feel the design of the game, this is a really good game, just really very rarely comes into fashion that you enjoy a game.
So what do you enjoy about a game?
Well, that's the thing. For me, since I'm a pro gamer, I very rarely watch games for enjoyment. And in general, when I watch a game, it's because I want to see one of the player wins. I can also, it depends. I mean, it depends, but it's very rare that I'm just gonna sit in a stream and watch the game and be I'm having a really good time. I don't know, as a pro gamer, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to describe, honestly, what you look for.
So
in general, if I'm gonna watch Starcraft, I would rather play it than watch it. Like if I watch it, it's because of Story Cup and I'm just not playing that day or something.
it's interesting that you mentioned that, because when I was talking to Kelazur, Diego, he also said something along the lines that it's difficult to just to watch or for enjoyment. You always keep looking for what is he doing, why is he doing that, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true that you're always gonna look through the, like, yeah, why is he doing this? What's the reason? You always want to learn something, kind of.
Yeah.
It's but like,
So
yeah.
where are the moments where you just have fun regarding StarCraft?
I don't know, like you enjoy StarCraft in the competitiveness of it, I think. Like, for example, like sometimes I play, all the RPG and whatever, and the fun I have playing RPG is just non-existent in StarCraft. It's just not here. Like StarCraft, you enjoy it because it's something I can give myself like 100% in it, and at the end, like it's something that takes like everything I have, and sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I don't know. It's very competitive, and it's feeling the competitive craving I have, I guess. But sometimes it's really hard, like sometimes I'm just gonna lose over and over, and there's no real reason why. And even when I play a lot, it's usually because I'm very frustrated with myself and how bad I'm playing. So I'm gonna play like 45 games in one day. But is it that enjoyable, to keep playing because you feel like you're playing bad? Yeah, so sometimes I'm not gonna play StarCraft because it can be very hard sometimes.
Yeah, sure. And still you are stuck with it, or you are how can I say, I mean, you made a decision at one point in your life when you were a bit younger. I want to follow this career now, and somehow what I ask myself always, what drives you? What is and you are giving me an answer now. You are saying it's the the competitiveness. You want to, obviously, also you want to win. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, but I feel like if you use this as an example of what drove me to be a pro gamer, it's not really the answer. This is actually something I can never give a good answer for, because it's just what I did. Like I just when in high school at some point I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna be a pro gamer later, and there was never like any strong reason. It's just what I was doing. It's like, yeah, I'm just playing StarCraft, and just everything kind of followed, So when people ask me like, hey, Drogo, how did you keep the drive? Like, were you a really disciplined person for like playing so much, practicing and becoming better? I'm like, mate, I'm the worst disciplined person ever. I think anybody that lives with me would agree that I'm not a disciplined guy at all. I just do stuff when I feel like it, and it ended up with me just being a pro gamer. So yeah, I don't have anything better to say.
No, but I mean that's maybe I think if you look in other sports, and I feel we underappreciate that also sometimes in esports, that some people are just at the right place at the right time, and they just feel that's my thing now. So I think it's maybe even the type of natural development, or how can you say? So it's nice to hear that answer also. So when you were casting Home Story Cup together with Joff and other people, he was teasing you at one point, like that you were so serious all the time, and I mean, it was really funny also. But how do you feel about commentating? I mean, you did it now at Home Story. You did it for a couple of games. Yeah.
This is okay. Here's the thing. I have a bit more experience. I would think that the average pro gamer to be a commentator, even if I don't personally feel like it, but with all gaming, with all gaming, sometime at the Nation Wars, for example, I would cast. I think in the Nation War that Marinade won, I would live there in Paris, and for a week I kind of have like the all gaming schedules, where I just you wake up, you go to the studio, when you cast a bunch of games, when you go back to bed in Paris. I did that for a week, and the caster life is pretty great, I have to say, but I feel like I would get incredibly bored after a point. It didn't feel like something I could just do for a living. But like it was just like these very particular instances where I would just like go in the studio every day, and it was pretty chill, pretty neat. But could I do that forever? Probably not. But entirely different thing. Could I be like, the great caster like Retardam, Todd, etc., that just go to event to cast, but they don't particularly do something every day? Well, I mean, sure, like this is like the fucking dream. Like when you only go to big events to cast, this is what every caster wants to do, I think. Like casting for an entire day is not that enjoyable. So you only want to cast stuff that matters. Some people don't have a choice, you have to show your passion if you want the big bucks. So I don't know. I guess I would like to be a caster if I'm a big one. That's kind of a bit selfish, but
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it.
Sounds very interesting. Yeah. So I mean, and you made the decision. You are sticking to pro gaming at this point in time.
I mean, I don't think I would be successful if I would go into casting right now.
Okay.
It just as an option.
Thank you very much. We will take a short technical break and then we will back in a second.